It's so simple. When you get that life is really short and you felt that before, either by you were threatened or you've had someone near and dear die, but when you have that real essence in you that says life is short, have reverence for it, live it, that's a really big thing. I got that at 19, and I learned specifically that if we have a moment of cognition before the end of our life, we tend to ask questions to evaluate if we're happy. So if I have any impact in the world, it's gonna come from that experience where I learned that the ultimate lesson is determine what the questions you're going to ask at the end of your life are going to be. Find out those questions. What will you ask at the end of your life to evaluate your life so that you would know if you were happy with your life? Like, figure out those questions and then live each day intentionally so you're happy with the answers at the end. For me, the questions I had were, did I live? Which I hadn't. I hadn't been living my life. I'd been thinking about taking my life. Right. Did I love? No, my heart was broken. And I put up all these walls to keep out other people. And I always say, sometimes the walls we put up to keep out the bad guys prevent the good guys from getting in. And suddenly in our own self-protection, we block out the very thing we want, which is connection. And I learned that I would ask, did I matter? 22 years ago, on a dark Caribbean night, I'm standing on the crumpled hood of a car, bleeding out. My friend, I just wrecked a car. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's bleeding. We don't know if we're going to live. And I'm standing on the hood of this car, looking down at all this blood, and I'm in terror. And I just remember looking down at the hood and just thinking, did I even matter? And I hated the answer at that time in my life, because I'm a 19-year-old kid. I didn't know about impact theory. For real. I didn't know to think about that. Young kids, sometimes they don't know to think about that. I didn't know to think about legacy, meaning. Did I matter? I didn't think I did. But the good news is I'm a good learner. And I felt like I got a second chance from God that night. And I learned that it was really important for me to figure out, how do I live and how do I love and how do I matter in such a way that if I face my death again, I'll know I've earned the second chance. And so what I want to tell people, and the impact I want, is I just want people to know your questions, man. Live intentionally and earn the life that you've been given, because this moment's a blessing. So earn this moment and live intentionally.
The difference between a great day and a mediocre one is your intention. How did you decide to show up today? Most people have no intention. Most people, you wake up, you check your phone, you're falling into other people's emergencies, other people's demands on your time, what everybody else wants for you to do today, right? Everybody's got an agenda. Everybody's got an opinion on what you should do with your life. You open your phone, there's all sorts of other people's emergencies for what you should be doing, right? Their emergencies become your priorities because you don't have intention in the day. Where when you flip it, when you start to say, no, I am going to take control of my day, take control of my life, and start to live with intention, everything starts to shift. The most important part of my morning routine is intention. Every day, here's what I do. I wake up, I am tired, I'm groggy, I'm like, forget what day it is, forget what year it is, forget who I am. I wake up, I got stuff in my eyes, I got lines on my face, so, I'm groggy. I don't wake up excited and like, yeah, oh my God, let's go. We're filming content today. I have to remind myself of what I'm doing. And as I walk to the bathroom, I'll usually put on a song. And in the morning, usually I have some oldies playing because it just makes me happy. So I'll put on some oldie and I'm going to the bathroom and I find myself just starting to dance a little bit, which is great because the motion starts to change things. If you put on songs that make you happy, that make you moving, it's gonna start to shift your entire day. And music is the fastest way to change your state. And then as I'm going to the bathroom, it might be too much detail, I'll then look at my calendar. I'll look at my calendar and I'll say, how do I wanna show up? What's my intention for today? What is my intention for today for how I wanna show up for whatever's in my calendar today? And today is a Tuesday. Tuesdays are when I make videos. I don't know when this is gonna be released, but what's my intention this morning? I look at my calendar. I see I've got a bunch of YouTube videos that I'm going to make today. I'm going to go with Nina and she's going to run some errands and I'm going to film from the car. And I want to make content that matters. I want to make something that matters today. I want to make something that's going to inspire somebody today. I want to make a video that touches somebody's life today. I want to make potentially the best video I've ever made today. I want to speak some truth into the camera. I want to touch somebody's soul in the content that I'm making. That's my goal for today. You think that changes how you show up? Right? It's like, as opposed to just, oh, I'm going to make some videos today. Okay, cool, let's go do that. That process doesn't have to take an hour in the morning, right? That process is while I'm going to the bathroom, right? It takes a minute, not very long, but it shifts everything because it changes how you show up for the entire day. I've also got on the background of my cell phone, the background says, remember your intention, as a trigger. So anytime I load my phone, I can see that. In between videos, when I press stop and I'm loading the next one, I see the background of my phone again. Remember your intention. Like, yeah, what was my intention this morning? Because even if you set it up in the morning, it doesn't mean the whole day is going to be amazing. Something's going to throw you off. You come back to your intention. What was my intention today? And it works for being your business goals. It works for accomplishing your business goals. It works for your personal goals. On Saturdays is my fun day, and I'll usually plan something to do with my wife, Nina, and maybe it's a hiking trip, maybe it's we're gonna go out and try out a new restaurant. Like, it's fun. It's not chores, it's not tasks, it's not business. It's just something for us to do. So the intention showing up is different. What's my intention today? Well, my intention is to be the best husband I can be. And what does that mean? Like, not just words, but you're trying to feel it. What does that mean? I want to have a great day with Nina. I want to make her smile today. I want to make her laugh today. I want to be present today. I want to not be frustrated by some little thing that happens. I don't want to be sucked into anything on the work side. I don't want to be daydreaming about business. I want to be thinking about my life with Nina. I want to be daydreaming about where we're going to go together as a couple, right? And the words will change, but even now just saying that puts me into a different mindset. I got to bring it back. I want to make killer videos for you guys. We just don't have intention. You know, we know we want more. You know you want more. You know you want more to life. You know you want to accomplish more. You know you want to be more. You know you want to serve more. And that's a great feeling, but we don't hold on to it long enough to actually do something with. And we'll usually think of that, I want to do more. I know I'm capable of more. And use it to beat ourselves up, to say, well, look, I didn't do it. I should have done it last week. I should have started last year. I was too afraid to do it. We just beat ourselves up and blame ourselves for not doing more, as opposed to using that intentionality to then create a better life for ourselves today. And it starts with today. It starts with today, like right now. The rest of today can be different if you chose to, with intention, show up. So how do we do it? How do we do it today? How do we do it ongoing? Because if you woke up with intention for the next year, holy cow, does your life look different? Step number one is create the environment of intentionality. And why that matters is because it allows it to happen on repeat, automatically, without you having to think about it. Because as soon as you move it to conscious, there's that step, there's that barrier, there's that block where when it's unconscious and automatic, you're much more likely to do it. So the environment, right? So my office, if you see my office, I got the pictures on the wall, they all mean something to me. I walk past in the morning, I walk past my mannequin I have a mannequin in my office, or on the way to the office, of me wearing the hoodie, because superheroes have mannequins of people wearing their outfits, and it fires me up, it gets me going. I have the music, right? Put music for how you want to feel, not for how you currently are feeling. If I put music for how I currently was feeling in the morning and I'm just tired and just waking up, it'd probably be some slow, meditative, calm, birds chirping, waterfall kind of stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not how if I ask myself, how do I want to start my day? It's not with birds chirping and waterfalls, it's with something that gets me moving. Because what I'm missing the most is fun. I'm not feeling fun and energetic in the morning. And so I need that. But when I put on The Lion Sleeps Tonight, or when I put on Run Around Sue, or I put on Respect, Aretha Franklin, when I put on, any of these oldies, I just start moving. I start dancing, start singing at the top of my lungs. and that gets me going in the morning, right? So the more you can have these habits and these triggers in the morning to get you set up, so that when you're looking at the intention of the day, you're already in the right frame of mind, okay? Because if you don't have the right mindset going in, no matter what your intention becomes, it's really hard to get it actually firing, right? Because you can tell yourself, I want to have a great day, but if all you're thinking about is how slow everything is and how crappy your life is, how you're not further ahead and how tired you are, you could say the words, but it won't land as strongly. So the environment really matters. Step 2 is you have to look at your calendar and see what's ahead and come into it with intention. How do you want to show up for all the things that are in your life today? What's on your calendar? And schedule things in, right? Like create a calendar that maps to your ambition. Your calendar should be a macro reflection of your intention. Your calendar is an intentional life. What's in your calendar should be a reflection of what you want out of your life. So look at your calendar. This is a great weekly exercise to do. Look at your calendar and then see what in your life, what in those spots actually will let you live the life that you want. So you say you want to be a YouTuber, you say you want to be an entrepreneur, you say you want to be a great husband or wife, you say you want, great, show me in your calendar where you have dedicated time to make that intention happen. Because if it's just a hope and it's never scheduled in, guess what? It never happens. I'm filming content today on a Tuesday because it's in my calendar, because that's part of an intentional life for me, where if I waited to get inspired to do something, I would make not a lot of content, right? Most of your goals are not in your calendar, and so they never get done. There's a tweetable. Most of your goals are not in your calendar, so it never gets done. So intentional life is putting things in your calendar. An intentional day is in reminding yourself in the morning of what you want to do, is how you show up. So when I'm showing up to make videos, I already explained the process that I go through. But then at night, when I'm gonna have time with Nina, it's different, right? I'm not thinking about YouTube videos anymore, I'm thinking about my time with Nina. So an intentional life in your calendar, and then in the morning, an intentional day. Just look at your calendar and say, here's what I need to do today, here's how I need to show up. Because again, if you planned your week on a Sunday and planned it all out, it looks great, you're gonna wake up on a Wednesday and then forget why you set that as your goal and not show up with the same intentionality anymore. So the morning reset for intentionality matters. And then step 3 is triggers. So step 1 is having the environment and the routine. Step 2 is planning out intentionality in your life, which is your calendar, and on a daily basis when you wake up. And then step 3 is the triggers to bring you back when you need to. So my biggest trigger is on my cell phone. My biggest trigger is remember your intention, so that anytime I check my phone, I see that as a reminder to myself of the person that I said I was going to be today. The other thing that really helped make it a big shift in my day-to-day life is I schedule things in 25-minute increments. So I'm doing interviews, I'm doing calls, I'm doing whatever's in my calendar is in 25 or 55-minute increments before I go to the next thing. I have a 5-minute buffer before going into the next thing. So if I'm doing interviews, Thursday is my interview day, boom, 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 25 minutes back to back to back to back to back to back. The occasional 55 minutes before the next thing. And I would do it initially just as a buffer for timing. So in case something went over, in case I had to figure out some tech gear, or in case I had to go to the washroom or whatever, I had a 5-minute break in between as a buffer. But the happy accident that came as a result of it is I use it as a little intentionality break for the next thing. So yesterday when I'm mentoring my team, if I'm talking to Jeremy for 55 minutes and then I have Alex coming up next, that 5-minute break. In the morning, it's gonna be, how do I wanna show up for my team? It's mentoring day, I wanna show up, I wanna be present, I wanna guide them, I wanna help them grow and learn and be inspired. I wanna be the best leader I can be. I want them to come away from today inspired, motivated, ready for action, fill them with courage and belief, right? That's the morning. That sets the tone for the whole day. But in the break between Jeremy and Alex, that 5 minutes, I'll use a minute or two of it to set the intention for the next one. I just came from Jeremy, I'm going to Alex. How do I want to show up for Alex? And it may just be repeating the same thing that I came up with this morning, or there might be some nuance, there might be something different. There might be something unique about Alex that I want to remind myself of before going into that call with him. So the daily reminders of the intention, the daily triggers, 1 is a cell phone background, remember your intention. And 2 is having the break, the 5-minute break between switching tasks to set myself up for the next task and remember why I'm doing that specific one. The intention matters. You know, again, we wake up and it's so easy to fall into somebody else's plan for us. It's so easy to look at our texts or look at our emails or look at social media and feel like we're already behind and we already owe so many other people in our lives our time and we don't control our day. And you have to put up some walls around where you're spending your time. And you have to start your day with intentionality to say, this is the life that I want, and I'm doing the activities that move me towards my goals. And the more that I'm intentional, the more that I am present, the more I will actually start to accomplish those things. You have so much greatness in you. You have so much heart and so much care and so much soul and so much of a desire to do good and serve and help. And yet for some reason at the end of the week, it just didn't happen this week again. And then it didn't happen again this week again. The difference is creating an intentional life for yourself and then reminding yourself daily and throughout the day of what that intention is. You don't need any more money or any more support or anything else beyond what you already have. You have everything you need to win. The only difference between now and where you could be in a year is how much are you going to show up with intentionality every day to move closer to your goals.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Empowerment means we give people the decision-making authority and the trust to be able to work towards this vision, to allow them the autonomy, the strength, the input, to equip them with the knowledge, the skills, the abilities, the technologies, the tools, the training, to allow them to succeed as they march with us to achieving something extraordinary and phenomenal. That's vital. That's what empowerment is about. And a lot of leaders who come in with a big vision, they get everyone excited, you know, they seem like they want everybody involved and they do a great job of standing for it, but they don't equip their teams to kick some butt. They never get to that place of real stride, of real momentum. And that happens all the time. Training other people and equipping them with everything they need to succeed has to be a vital practice of every great leader. And again, it doesn't happen just once. That's a huge failure in the working world, especially in corporate America. Great leaders come in, they nail the vision, they get people around it, they stand for something. But they only empower people at the beginning. They give some training and then they just disappear. Training has to be consistent, coaching has to be consistent, equipping people to deal with the new challenges, the new tools, the new technologies, the new competitive realities. That's vital. We have to have that in place. Research study in psychology found out that both second person and third person makes you more, makes your self-talk more powerful. So if you're gonna do affirmations, you wouldn't just say, I wanna do this, I wanna do this. You wanna do what we call in the book self-coaching, where you would say, you know, in my case, Brendon, it's important you do a good job here today because you usually don't do interviews. And you really love Marie and you want to do a good job for her and her people. And this is a book you worked on for 3 years and it's important it does well. And Brendon, don't forget, you're so lucky you get to do this, brother. So just enjoy the process. You're so lucky, Brendon. That's a different level of going, I'm lucky, right? It is.
I'm Brendon. I'm great.
Yes. Another one I do every morning in the shower. Assuming I take a shower, but every morning in the shower.
Because we all don't every day.
Not every morning.
No, we do not.
It just doesn't happen.
It does not happen.
I told you, like 24 hours ago, I was staying in a barn in the woods at a friend's house.
Yes.
But the second thing I ask myself in the shower every morning is, what might happen today that could trip me up?
And how are you going to bring your best self to that, Brendon? I say that every morning in the shower to myself. And it just helps me anticipate that, you know, something's gonna go wrong during the day.
Absolutely.
And if I already know everything, like this morning's was, okay, you're in, I think I'm North Manhattan, where I'm staying. Would you call it North?
You're uptown.
I'm uptown.
And you're coming to, let's just call it downtown.
Okay,
Yes.
so I'm like, okay, that's gonna be 45 minutes. It's a hot summer day.
Yes.
I'm gonna get hot, and I know when I'm hot, sometimes I get impatient.
Yes.
And I get stressed, and I don't wanna feel that. So just pay attention to how you're feeling on your way down to the interview with Marie, Brendon, and really just engage. Pay attention, be present with New York, and really enjoy that you're here. I know that sounds completely crazy, but every high-performing athlete does it. Every salesperson does it. I mean, at high level. Every person I interviewed who are at what we call the top 15% of all high performers.
Outside of teaching people to bring the joy in my life, I teach people to honor the struggle, honor the difficulty. When we honor the struggle instead of hate the struggle, we can really achieve extraordinary things because our mindset's in the right place. As soon as you honor the struggle, you accept that, oh, of course, there should be struggle here. I should honor this process. When you go to the gym to work out, you honor that this is gonna be hard and honor that process of getting better. And the more that you bring honor to it, the more your psyche builds with strength and you get a little bit of that esteem back because you see yourself engaging something versus avoiding it and running away. You see yourself connecting with something and giving it reverence. You're like I have reverence for the difficulties of life. They may be better. So I don't want a friction-free life. I'm not interested in it. You know, I like to say sometimes that, you know, the journey to greatness begins the moment that our, you know, deep desires for comfort and ease are overpowered by our desires to connect and contribute.
What is that habit that you take on a daily or monthly basis with clarity? What do you think about? You're like, every morning, what am I clear about? Or, you know, how do you apply that habit to your life?
I apply it in a couple ways. First, for me, every situation I go into, I'm consistently asking, like, what's the feeling I want to have here? If you ever see me teach, it's often, I would say, bring the joy. So I have joy triggers that I've set up in my mind that makes me more intentional about things. So for example, I have a door frame trigger. Whenever I walk through a door, I say, bring the joy. So when I walk through that door right there, it's like, bring the joy into this room. It's just a mental trigger that I've set up for myself. Every morning in the shower, I ask myself 3 questions. And not that I shower every morning, but the ones I do, the first question I say, what can I be excited about today? So it forces me to be clear about what's going to draw joy, enthusiasm from me. Number 2, I say, what might trip me up today? Because usually I know what's going on in the day. I'm like, what might mess me up? Where might not perform well? What might bother me? And number 3, I say, what can I do to surprise somebody today? To give a gift of appreciation or acknowledgement today. And so I think through that in the morning. So I think that helps me begin my day pretty clear. Then when I sit down before I do work, I literally look at my calendar of the day. I did this morning. And I look at whatever's going on in the day and I think about it for 20 minutes. It's one of my 20-minute routines in the morning. I literally think about my calendar for 20 minutes a day. And people think that's crazy. But what I'm thinking through when I'm looking at the calendar, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have that call. What do I want to happen on that call? You know, what's my intention for that call? What's my goal for that call? What's the feeling for that call? How do I want to end that call? You know, I'm going to have that time with Lewis. Like, how do I want to be there? And how can I make sure I enjoy it? Because it's a big deal. You know, I love your show. I want to do a good job. I want to share something good for the people, even though I have no idea what you're going to ask in this. I want to be present for that and make sure I'm really there, even though maybe I have a head cold today. You know, it's like it's like just thinking through it. I think that helps me. It keeps me asking questions. Every Sunday, I do a life arenas assessment. That just means I think there's 10 areas of our life, and I score myself in them. And this is about my 11th year of doing this.
Wow.
So each area of my life, you know, from emotional quality to happiness to relationships to time to hobby, etc. I just give myself a score of 1 to 10. And 1 means I suck, and I was horrible in the previous week on that. 10 means I did a good job. And then I ask, how can I do better? It's my Sunday routine. And it just keeps me clear. And it's not like I don't sometimes, like everyone else, wonder what's going on or what I'm doing. But those habits, those were my habits. You have to establish your own for seeking clarity. Right. But when you have them, you weaponize your life.
Transitions take place in the chapter of Generate Energy. And also, maybe it's in productivity too. And it has this it's just a conversation that if you're go all the time, you're depleting energy all day and you don't know it. And lots of people think to get more energy or be more productive, they have to radically change their life. I'd better work out an extra 60 minutes in the morning. It's like, actually, let me teach you the mastery of managing transitions. When you go from one activity to another, I want to teach you this simple thing. And that is release tension, set intention. Very simple. Let me give you the example because it really helps. If you're doing email, and that takes one part of your psyche and brain to do a lot of email. And now you're gonna go create that keynote or that PowerPoint presentation that you want to be flowing and visual and beautiful, very different things. What most people do is they'll do their email and then they'll work a little on the presentation, then the notification will come over here and then they'll go back to the email and they're multitasking.
Yes.
And they're wrecking not only their measurable creativity, but their long-term performance. And so what you have to do is when you finish the email, stop it, okay? Maybe go get some water, come back or whatever, even if you don't, all I want you to do, push away from your chair for a minute. Close your eyes, repeat the word release with the goal of releasing tension in your body, and repeat the word release to yourself several times, over and over, like a mantra, okay? Just repeat, it could be 60 seconds, it can be 1 minute, it can be 2 minutes, whatever you want to do. Just do it until you feel like your body and your mind release a little bit. Then, before you open your eyes, set an intention. Say, okay, Brendon, you're gonna work on this keynote now. Your intention is to make something that grabs them right at the beginning, and then make it really move fast, and make it make it visual, and make sure that it builds emotionally throughout the thing. So when you make a call to action at the end, bam, and then open my eyes. Now work on the presentation. I'm clean and free from the previous activity.
Yes.
And people will feel an unbelievable amount of energetic, just power come back from there. I worked with a major founder in the startup Silicon Valley world, flew me down at 3 a.m. I guess it was around after midnight on a private jet. It was just this crazy. He was having a lot of trouble, just exhausted, literally depleted. This person's incredibly well valued in his company, lots of employees, everyone knows who the person would be, but miserable. Just go. And I said, well, and one of his major things was he was wrecking his relationship with his wife and his children. Not because he was maybe just overworking. He would just carry a lot of the work into his house.
Yep.
So one of these days I said, I want you to pull up to your house after the day of working. Don't get out of the car. Pull up the house, just close your eyes, repeat the mantra, release to yourself, maybe for 5 minutes. And then before you open your eyes, set the intention. How do you want to be with your wife when you enter the house? What kind of dad do you want to be to your daughter? Just set that intention. Open up your eyes. Now go in as a different man. And it changed his life. His email to me is in the book.
I read it. It's fantastic.
It just works. That means just release tension.
Yep.
Set intention. It's just your transitions are where most people's bleeding out their energy and they don't know. And if we can just get you 4 or 5 times of transition really well throughout the day, you finish your day like, I feel amazing.
Yes.
And we didn't caffeinate you. We didn't do anything. We just changed how you approach your work.
Get up in the morning. I drink 20 ounces of water. I do 20 minutes of mobility, movement, and stretching every morning. Then I read for 20 minutes, something positive. For me, it's almost always a self-help book or a leadership book, almost always. Sometimes a business book, almost always self-help and leadership. Read that book. Then I go and I sit down with my high-performance planner, my green tea. I fill out the day, right? I look at the blocks of time that are already scheduled, and then what I do is my second visualization, which is I look at the major blocks of time that have been scheduled, just like this morning, and I close my eyes and I think, how do I do that thing with excellence? What would make that thing special? So this morning, before I got here, when I thought about this, because there's my high performance planner, impact theory, Tom Bilyeu, oh yes, 3 exclamation points, literally. So I looked at the schedule, I closed my eyes and I thought, okay, what do I want to communicate on Tom's show? How do I want that to feel? What do I want to communicate? So I literally closed my eyes and I visualized those blocks of time. And how would I do them well? That's a superpower. Most people write their day out and they just go about the day, and then sometimes they come back to the plan and they go, oh my God, I didn't even do it. Because I sit there and I think about, how do I do that well? That's a game changer.
What does that rebuilding process look like for somebody who's trapped in depression and suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, I've been there a lot in my life, especially before my car accident, my teenage years. Then the first woman I ever loved, we had a big breakup, and that breakup sent me down in depression and suicidal planning. And it's tough to dispense advice to people other than get help. And I'll share why. Because that time in my life, I had so many people coming up to me. You know, my friends would come into my dorm room, and Brendon, let's go do something. And the hope is lost. And what people, I think, make the mistake of trying to do is hype people up. Everything's gonna be okay, you're gonna be great. And what people need who are suicidal is serious psychological intervention. They need to seek support and help. And outside of that, when they do get that support, the first thing a great therapist is going to do, outside of the emotional reflection work of why are you here and what has caused this sort of pattern for you, they're going to get you starting to get some momentum. The most important thing is when you are super down, outside of finding that emotional reasoning for where you are, is to start getting momentum. Because with momentum comes hope. With momentum comes motivation. With momentum comes, that feeling that there's a reason for tomorrow. And so it's as simple as just saying, okay, what are 3 things I'm gonna do today? And I don't mean that like a lot of personal development guys would say, like, what are your 3 big goals for the day? Arr! I'm like, dude, sometimes that first goal is, I'm gonna shower today. I'm really gonna shower today. I'm gonna walk to the library. I'm gonna come home. And that's all they got. Like literally, that's all they got. And you gotta honor that struggle when you're in that place. Like, know that where you're at, it is okay that you're there, and now you're gonna need help, and now you're gonna have to set up some daily practices just every day, win a little bit. Not like win your dreams, not like crush through goals, not like be a badass, not like, no, just momentum, man.
Next habit is high performers develop influence more than those around them. It's not because they're cool. It's not, I mean, look at me. I'm not getting ahead on my cool factor here, ladies and gentlemen. I just got these new Nikes. I walk in the store. I walk in the store. It's like, what's your newest shoe? They're like, these ones. I'm like, I need that. And they're like, why? I'm like, because Lewis has sneaks, man. I wear suits, or like, I'm either on stage in a suit or at my studio, kind of like kind of formal too.
Sure.
I was like, man, I gotta get some sneaks. So
they look good, man.
I said, give me your newest sneak. So I'm not getting ahead on the cool. I don't develop influence because I'm cool. It's not your personality that gives you influence. Yeah. It's how you treat other people. Mm-hmm. And specifically the way that high performers gain influence is this way too much?
No, I'm get it. How you treat other people.
Here's how you develop influence. If you really want high level of influence, obviously you gotta do all the basics, treat people nice, be kind. And in the book, what I do is with each habit, I say, here's the basics, but then I go, here's what the needle mover practices are. The highest performing influencers, what they're doing, often they don't know they're doing it, by the way. The first thing they're doing is they're teaching people how to think. A lot of your show gained influence, I really believe, because you're really good at teaching people how to think.
Thank you.
You're shaping their mindset, but high performers are really doing it explicitly, and you do this too, where you say, here's how to think about that, guys. Or high-performing leaders tell their team, here's how we should be thinking about ourselves. Here's how we should be thinking about the competition. Here's how we think about the future of the company. They're saying it. They're explicit more often. Here's how to think. I mean, the 7th most read book in the history of the world is Think and Grow Rich.
Crazy.
It became that way because he taught people how to think about money. We have to tell our audience how to think about things. The second thing they're doing is they're challenging people. And they're challenging in a specific way. If you listen to a great orator, a great speaker, the pros, and when I know I'm like, oh, this person's studied speech before, is they challenge the audience in 3 ways. They challenge the audience's character. Then they challenge the audience's connections, their relationships. Then they challenge the audience's contributions, what they're giving. You hit all 3 of those, the audience is like, I have to listen to her. I have to listen to him, because not only are they shaping how I should be thinking, because maybe I was thinking wrong, but now they're pushing me, because, it's just like a great coach. The greatest coaches, they're not just saying throw the ball better. They're like, Lewis, you're a better man than that. Come on, man. They're saying, look, you're treating your team like crap. They're look, you're not contributing to the team here. That's a different challenge than just throw the ball faster or catch So I studied that from them, but those are the primary things. And the third thing, of course, is role modeling. Standing. I mean, if I'm the bring the joy guy, or I'm the honor the struggle guy, or I'm the high performance guy, and I'm off my game, people are going to know that.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to role model what I do, which is hard when you're talking about high performance, because everyone thinks, well, don't you have a bad day? I'm like, dude, I have bad moments. I wouldn't say bad days, because I don't want to go to bed and feel like the day was bad. But at the same time, I think that's why they're developing influence.
High performers are not dissatisfied strivers. They're not. They're happy. High performers are happier than their peers. We all believe that to get the top, it's going to be lonely at the top, and we all believe you have to grind and kill yourself to get there.
Yeah.
And that's completely wrong, and the data proves it worldwide, which is, I think, just overcoming a lot of people's biases about how you work today, because right now, especially today, grind on social media is so popular.
Or hustle.
And by the way, none of the top 15% of high performers worldwide identify with those words. They literally don't. We asked them, we did a whole keyword analysis.
Yep.
This was actually pretty cool. And high performers explicitly say, these are the three driving feelings. If we said there was a high performance state, it's driven from these three things. Number one, full engagement.
Yes.
Number two, joy.
Yes.
And number three, confidence.
Yes.
That's what they relate with, okay? That's where it's coming from. It's a joyous journey, not a dissatisfied one. And I had this conversation in the book because I'll kind of maybe frame it this way. Each of these chapters opens with a vignette of somebody I worked with or a situation that I was in that demonstrated high performance. In this particular situation, I'm walking on a stage, thousands of people, after a very famous musician was out there and was telling the audience that person's secret to success, remember, thousands of people, their secret to that person, their whole speech, their secret to success was never settle. Never settle. Nothing is enough. Never settle. And never be satisfied. Never be satisfied. Always demand more. And I'm like, oh, my second slide, which was going to be on Jumbotrons in 80-point text, was strive satisfied. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to dispel this for all these thousands of people. I was totally freaked out.
Yeah.
But what I had to explain to people was not only the data, but it's this. If you're never satisfied, I mean, is it true that life is precious? If it's true that life is precious and you could be gone tomorrow, do you really want to think, you know what, I just never felt fulfilled? I never allowed myself to have a moment of credit. I never allowed myself to have a moment of peace. I never allowed myself to look at that and say, good job. That's not the way to live life.
Right.
I think just at a spiritual level, it's a bad move. And this book doesn't really go into a lot of that. It's more about the science and the heart stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think it's really important that people realize your job is to strive satisfied. And if you strive satisfied more often, you will be more of a high performer. And if you never give yourself credit, you're always beating up on yourself, you're always thinking that's not perfect enough, then what's going to happen? Dissatisfied people burn out and they quit more often than satisfied strivers. So take joy in the moment, engage with what you're doing, allow credit and satisfaction and joy to come in. You can always be improving.
Of course.
But be improving joyfully.
Big development growth point for people is determining, how do I really want to treat people when they don't agree with me, or when they're hating on me, or when they're discounting me, or they're being mean to me, or we're in a fight? Because I think some of those are the greatest growth areas of our life. At the end of our lives, if we have a moment of cognition, we're going to lay there in bed and we're going to ask questions about our life to evaluate whether or not we were happy with it. And what I've always suggested to people is, maybe don't pretend you're living your purpose unless you know the questions you're going to ask at the end of your life. How do you evaluate it? Because otherwise you're just kind of living randomly.
But when you know, I'm going to evaluate my life this way at the very end, now every day you can wake up with intention. Now every day you get to wake up with purpose, which is why I love the name of your show, because that's my thing too. It's like this deep connection to some type of purpose so that at the end of our life, we're happy. There's no regrets. There's no sadness. There's no, oh my gosh, why was I this way? Or why did I wait to do that? And my unique story is that I got that gift at 19 years old. People should want to have a high level of joy and happiness in their life.
Yeah.
But they cannot wait for it. I always say, the power plant doesn't have energy. It generates energy. I mean, technically, it transforms energy from one medium to another. And we can do the same thing. You don't have happiness. You have to generate the happiness. You don't have joy. You generate joy. And when you learn to take control of your power and your energy in that way, then life becomes so much more fulfilling and so much more fun. And it doesn't become fake or forced, because it's fake and forced, this all day.
Yeah.
That's not your natural state.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's how you know. Take a person, I just got back from a big vacation with my lady and we were down on the beach and take any person, put them on a beach for a while and they're not like, your natural state is like, this is beautiful, this is great. There's awe, there's inspiration, there's joy there. Tap back into that and you'll be more of a high performer.
When you get that life is really short and you felt that before, either by you were threatened or you've had someone near and dear die, but when you have that real essence in you that says life is short, have reverence for it, live it, that's a really big thing. I got that at 19, and I learned specifically that if we have a moment of cognition before the end of our life, we tend to ask questions to evaluate if we're happy. So if I have any impact in the world, it's going to come from that experience where I learned that the ultimate lesson is determine what the questions you're going to ask at the end of your life are going to be. Find out those questions. What will you ask at the end of your life to evaluate your life so that you would know if you were happy with your life? Like, figure out those questions and then live each day intentionally so you're happy with the answers at the end. For me, the questions I had were, did I live? Which I hadn't. I hadn't been living my life. I'd been thinking about taking my life. Right. Did I love? No, my heart was broken. And I put up all these walls to keep out other people. And I always say, sometimes the walls we put up to keep out the bad guys prevent the good guys from getting in. And suddenly in our own self-protection, we block out the very thing we want, which is connection. And I learned that I would ask, did I matter? 22 years ago, on a dark Caribbean night, I'm standing on the crumpled hood of a car, bleeding out. My friend, I just wrecked a car. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's bleeding. We don't know if we're going to live. And I'm standing on the hood of this car, looking down at all this blood, and I'm in terror. And I just remember looking down at the hood and just thinking, did I even matter? And I hated the answer at that time in life, because I'm a 19-year-old kid. I didn't know about impact theory. For real. I didn't know to think about that. Young kids sometimes, they don't know to think about that. I didn't know to think about legacy, meaning. Did I matter? I didn't think I did. But the good news is I'm a good learner. And I felt like I got a second chance from God that night. And I learned that it was really important for me to figure out, how do I live and how do I love and how do I matter in such a way that if I face my death again, I'll know I've earned the second chance. And so what I want to tell people, and the impact I want, is I just want people to know your questions, man. Live intentionally and earn the life that you've been given, because this moment's a blessing. So earn this moment and live intentionally.
Demonstrate courage. And I think all personal development people, of course, but they actually, high performers do demonstrate courage. Like, we can measure it from peer feedback. We can measure it from their self-assessments. We can measure it from, we have this thing called the high performance indicator assessment. You take it, you get scored on all 6 habits. It's free on the internet, on the interwebs. But this one's peaked when we did the research, and I didn't know it. And it is, high performers are more willing to share their ideas, their thoughts, their feelings, what they need, what they want, and they do it more consistently than their peers. Even when there's risk or uncertainty, you do a great job. I know you have, the book's coming out for you, talking about men and being vulnerable. That's demonstrating courage. That's, when you're not conditioned that way or you're not used to that, that it might not seem like a big deal, but it is.
Yeah.
When you talked about me doing this interview, that was like, it might not seem like demonstrating courage to go on Lewis Howes, but it is, because I admire you. And I'm not used to sharing a lot. I'm usually let the work speak for itself.
Yeah.
So I had to I need to share, being willing to share this in different and unique ways. But I think for most people, it's when you're in your last meeting, did you share for your ideas and fight for them?
Did you share for your ideas?
Did you share your ideas and fight for them? When you wanted to post that video and you were scared to death because people are going to make fun of you, did you do it? And when you wanted to tell your spouse that you're not getting what you need, did you say it? Because all those are demonstrating courage. It's not just, courage, we think pulling someone out of the river or something. And that's part of it. And we talk about the different kinds of courage in the book.
Human brain has an incredible capacity for guilt. And most people unconsciously let that roll over them and kick their butt and make a horrible life. I love guilt. Guilt is a tool. Guilt is a weapon. Guilt does not have to be a bad thing. It's not like I perpetuate, but I'm like, I love that I feel bad when I don't do a good job. Most people hate that about themselves. I love that feeling. I'm like, I didn't do a good job there. Next time I will. So some people, guilt is discouragement. Other people, it's a signal for learning. To me, guilt is a signal for learning. It is the body and the brain, the spirit, knowing what is right, knowing what is wrong, knowing what's great, knowing what's mediocre. And it's saying, hey, do a little better. Now, if it's translated into a negative impulse, then some people call it guilt. But I'm totally cool with guilt. I think it's good that we feel bad when we do something that is below our standard or that's not right, because that impulse to go, I want to do that better.
Stage one was I was honest that I was a hot mess. I came back from the accident and I'm like, I'm a mess. I've been depressed. I was going to kill myself. I'm sad. My grades suck. My friends are kind of like losers, not in a judgmental way to them, but in how I wanted to feel. They made me feel bad about myself. And that's why I think a loser isn't what they've accomplished, it's how they make other people feel. Two different things. They made me feel bad. And I thought, I don't have it together. And that began my great and long-term committed search to studying psychology. Because I'm like, why do I think so dumb? Why do I feel so bad about myself? How do you overcome, depression? How do I deal with this sadness? Why do I still have so much hatred in my heart about something that happened so long ago? Like just all this, like people say forgiveness. How do you do that?
Oprah had Oprah.com. And I thought, how cool would it be to have your name, .com. Now, I sought this kid out. So I went to Brendon.com, and this guy, he had his resume up there. And that's all he had was a resume. So I emailed the guy, and I'm like, hey man, I'd really love to own this website. Could I buy it from you? He goes, no, it's my name. I'm like, dang it. And he says, no, I got my mom, she's got, an email, we have an email associated with the domain.
Right.
All this stuff. I said, oh man. All right. So I set it in my calendar. Every 6 months for 6 years.
Whoa.
My calendar would go off and I'd email him again. Email him again. Email him again. Email him. It took 6 years. And on the 6th year, he said, you know what? Yeah, I'd be interested in that conversation. Sold it. So I got Brendon.com. I'm really happy about that. Really thrilled. Stupid story, but I was like, yes! Determination!
I found this quote that said, the journey to greatness often begins the moment that challenge and contribution become more important than comfort and ease.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And so we have to challenge ourselves, but the habit here, the social habit, is develop influence. And you develop influence. Teach people how to think, role model the way, and then make sure that you are challenging people in those 3 areas. Challenge their character. You got to do that delicately. The book teaches you how. Make sure you challenge relationships because that's so important, and challenge people what they're giving. And if you do that strategically enough, part of your message in greatness is challenging people to follow their dreams. Yeah. You say it all the time. Yeah. It's one reason I love your show. you're constantly challenging people to follow their dreams. And not just like, hey, follow your dreams, like, hey, do this.
I want to learn to be confident. I want to learn how to communicate well. And I want to learn to have great relationships. So I studied those things really intensely, and I just tried them. And I tried them, and I was so good about making little goal sheets and trying it. And that was the year I also began my monthly goals. So on the first day of every month, to this day, I write a personal goal and a professional goal. Every day I look out on the way out, I put on the door. I'd walk out and be patient. No matter what my other goals or objectives were, that was like the defining personal theme. So I created monthly challenge themes for 23 years. You know, patience have come up a lot of times. You know? It's like joy has come up a lot of times.
Yes.
You know, staying centered has come up a lot of times. It's not like I have ever achieved, no one achieves personal development.
Agreed.
Or purpose.
Agreed.
It is like an intention and a dedication. And so that's where it started. And by studying all that, it gave me the edge. I really believe when you are a student of life, especially in psychology and philosophy, you get the edge. Because when people are having problems, you can see perspective around it. And once you have perspective, you got superpowers. Because most people are trapped in their problems.
I'm extremely grateful for the patience and love of my family in this particular project. It took me away more than anything else. I'm actually really grateful that I've gotten to know you better and getting this to be the first like in-depth conversation with it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Because I think that you're very talented at holding a space for people, your team too, about holding a space for people to just be like, this is me, this is what I, about.
Yeah.
And then I would also, I'm always grateful for God for the second chance I got from the standing on the hood of the car. Like I got it. Like knowing that each day you get up and it's not, self-help psychobabble. It's like knowing that life is limited and you get a second chance every morning of like showing the world more of who you are, breathing, taking that walk with your love, just having that every day, that kind of new beginning. I feel that in my career. I'm sharing that with you now. And by the time this comes out, I'll have a new show out, the Brendon Show. I've never done that before as a new opportunity. I'm grateful for the new opportunities. I think right now you and I have the ability to share our messages farther and wider than we've ever had before. I'm super grateful that we're alive, like right now at this time on the planet when I think our messages really need to be heard, when we're, surrounded sometimes by a culture, society, politics is so negative. To have a platform to share something good right now, I'm so grateful for that.
The number one issue with being productive isn't that people usually don't know what to do with the day. It's that they look at it with dread and they accept that feeling and they stop. They go, I don't wanna. So they stop. Even though if they looked past the immediate dreadful activity and looked into the future about the benefits it would give them, if they could reconnect with that, they could push through. It's that when we get in the short term, just automatic feelings, automatic emotions that come up, those things, when they're not monitored consciously, and sometimes they're not overridden by a higher calling, a higher ambition to serve, a higher mission, then what ends up happening is we go, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll skip this one and, I'll get the workout in tomorrow, and then workout comes tomorrow, I'll get it in next Friday, and then it doesn't come in next Friday, and then I'll get the work in, the work doesn't happen, and we keep telling ourselves these stories, I'll do it when I feel like it. But I hope if one thing you've learned here is the power plant doesn't have energy, you need to generate the energy in which you need to excel and serve in this world.
Number one is my friend hat, which is so important. This is where when I'm having a bad day, I always say, okay, if I was coaching my absolute dearest best friend in the world who just went through the same day, what would I suggest that they do next? Not how would I change their life, not some big highfalutin stuff. Like, what would I suggest that person they do, like literally next in that situation they're in? Would it be, you know what, you really need to call your mom. You know what, you need to call that person, apologize. You know what, You need to send that email. You know what you need to do is take this. But what would I tell my absolute best, most adored friend to do as their very next step? Not the whole plan, just what's one thing I would tell my absolute best, dearest friend? I ask myself this question probably 2-3 times a week, right? Because I'll get frustrated by something will piss me off, or I'll be bummed that something crashed and burned. I'll be like, okay, what would if my best friend just went through that exact same thing, what would I say they should do first? And of course, once I think of what they should do first, then the next step comes, and the next step, and the next step. Meaning, kind of coach and advise yourself from a third-party standpoint. I know you probably know you should do that, but here's the way that I make it stick. I write the letter. This means I sit down with a blank piece of paper and I write the letter to myself from the best friend's perspective. Dear Brendon, you're really ugly and stupid, but you're my best friend. So, buddy, here's what I recommend you do about the situation that you're in. Here's how I think you should think about it. Here's what I recommend that you should do. And I literally write the letter to myself from the perspective of my best friend. Does that make sense? That's what I call putting on my friend hat, and I write the letter, Dear Brendon. And sometimes it's just, I write it, it's super short. It's on a little note card. I write like 10 sentences. Other times, man, I gotta dig deep, and that thing becomes like a 4-page letter to myself. And we know from psychology, specifically dealing with therapy and trauma, that if you will write yourself a letter, it does significantly change your emotional well-being. And writing it from this perspective as a friend has, I have found, made my letters much more compassionate, much more thoughtful, much more positive. So I just put my friend hat on, I write myself a little letter. Dude, if you're angry all the time, you gotta change how you look at the world. Yes, there's a lot in the news that can piss you off. Yes, there's a lot going on that causes outrage all day long on Twitter or social media somewhere. But if that's your sole focus, no wonder you're upset all the time. Lots of people are angry right now because of the news or something chaotic or terrible or something they don't agree with is happening in the world. But that's not new. There's always chaos. There's always turmoil. There's always bad things happen in the world. But if that's your focus, no wonder you're having that anxiety and that frustration and that anger all the time. You got to change both your focus and how you're reacting to things when you do see it. So first, let's work on your focus. As much as you're angry all the time, are you also noticing the beauty of this world? I mean, the odds that you're even alive and having your breath is something to connect to every single morning. To have reverence for your life in the morning, to wake up. One of my late mentors was Wayne Dyer, an amazing, amazing teacher. And he always talked about how he woke up, he rolled over, he put his feet on the ground and he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. He was grateful for his day, and he began that way. And I think so many people right now, they kind of roll up in bed and they're like, and they grab their friggin' phone and they start going through the news and social media. And what are they queuing? Immediately, I'm queuing stress, chaos, turmoil, clickables. It's like clickbait, 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 clickbait. No wonder you're frustrated. You're activating your brain immediately right off the beginning of the day in all the turmoil of the world. Put the dang phone down, get up and think about what you're grateful for, about what you want to achieve and give and serve and create that day, about who needs you to be on your A game that day so you can focus on that instead of like this in bed. That will change how you start your day. And then listen, a lot of people who are angry all the time, they're also in outrage all the time because they're focusing on the problem all the time. And they're bemoaning the problem. They're calling out the problem, complaining about the problem, judging, criticizing, getting upset all the time. A ton of people who stay in anger all the time are failing to be solution-based. That's what they're doing, right? They're just anger, problem, outrage, outrage, outrage. But listen, when you become a solution-based person, when you say, okay, I actually want to do something about this problem, and you start taking positive steps to at least address it or to participate, suddenly that anger goes into a new fire, and that fire is called enthusiasm. It is easy to switch anger into enthusiasm when you become solution-based as a mindset. When you say, okay, I don't like this,
let me do something. Let me call somebody. Let me take this action. Let me write that letter. Let me send that email. Let me get my friends together. Let's go protest. Let's go get involved. Let's participate, because participation turns anger often into enthusiasm. People say, Brendon, I'm scared to start my dream. I'm like, you're not scared to start your dream. You're embarrassed to be seen starting small. Big difference. It's not about the dream that's freaking you out. It's about how you're gonna feel chasing the dream. It's about how you're gonna be perceived chasing the dream. It's about how you fear at night it won't turn out the way you wanted. It's not about the dream. It's about how you're processing how it will feel chasing the dream. And once you figure that out, you see that you can rewire yourself. You can teach yourself to think differently about the journey and the process. Because look, no matter how small you start something that matters. Start something that brings your life back. Start something that makes your heart feel full. Start something that does scare you. Allow that fear, allow that worry, allow that anxiety a little bit, because that's just saying you're growing, you're learning, you're changing, you're getting going. But let's be very clear. Most people, what they're really scared about is being embarrassed. Well, I don't know if I quit my job and I start this thing, what do my coworkers think when I do that? I don't know if I start this, what are my friends gonna say when they see me playing small and not doing big things? Because every big project starts with small little tasks that don't look sexy. Oh, what's everyone gonna think about me that I chose this route when the other thing was over here and that was a better choice? What people are scared about is being rejected, or more, being embarrassed. I tell people all the time, don't be embarrassed to start small. I think about when I started doing videos, it wasn't, we're at 200 million video views now. Tell you what, when I started, I was okay with the fact that it was like 10 people watched my videos. 9 of them was my mom on a different browsers, probably hitting refresh to make me feel better about myself. I accepted the fact that starting small was part of the game. Instead of bemoaning that, I honored that process. I said, that is part of it. Being small in a big pond with big fish is part of the game. And only until you keep playing, keep moving, keep building, do you ever become one of the big fish. You have to be okay with being small. And so if you start your channel or you start your thing and only 100 people watch it, hey, that's 100 people who heard your message. That's 100 people who you helped. That's 100 people who you changed your mindset for. That's 100 people who let you do your own thing and watch. And even if they were haters, at least you started penetrating their mind. Get in the game. Never be embarrassed about starting small or scrappy or crappy, because that's part of the journey. It's supposed to be that way. So don't fear it, acknowledge that's part of it. I'm gonna honor that. Let's go. I was a maybe 24, 25-year-old man, and I was a member of Kiwanis. And if you guys didn't know, Kiwanis it's kind of like Rotary or Lions Club. It's a nonprofit organization that's dedicated towards service in the community. And I was in Kiwanis, and I was the youngest one, hands down. Like in the room, we'd get together every single month on a Tuesday, and we'd have lunch, and we'd have a speaker in, and then we'd talk about a volunteer project we were gonna do that month, and that was kind of how it went in Kiwanis for me. And so, but in my room, I was 24 or 25, in the room every Tuesday, when we got together, everyone else was older. They were like 50s and 60s and 70s older. When I was 20, I was the youngest person in the room every single time. And I remember I was having a particularly challenging time because I was thinking about quitting my job, but I was scared because I hadn't saved any money. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew that I knew that the job wasn't the thing at the time, but I didn't know what it was, and so I was scared to make the leap. And I was kind of struggling with some existential stuff because, it'd been 4 or 5 years I hadn't had a girlfriend, and it was just frustrating. I was like dating, but I just wasn't making real connections when I was dating, and I was just unhappy in that part of my life. I didn't know what I was doing with my career. I didn't have a significant relationship. I was like, oh man, I didn't feel good. And so I was having a really down day on that particular Tuesday. And I went in and I was sitting next to this guy, and he was one of the awesome Kiwanians who was there. And he was, I think he was probably 59, 60 years old. He was in banking, very successful, wealthy guy, happy, he was like a happy-go-lucky grandpa type, just a good dude. And I'm just kind of listing off to him all these things that suck, you know? And he says, well, what are you doing about it? And I said, well, and he says, well, I bet, and he said, I bet I know what's going on. He said, you're going home, you're probably watching too much TV, drinking too much beer, and sitting alone too often, or you're going out and not having any fun, and and we're just talking. My mode was, I go inside, so I kind of pull away from people when I'm unhappy. And so I was like, yeah, I kind of pull away, and I'm in my house. And he says, well, I know how to solve your problem. I said, oh, what is it? He goes, buy tickets. I'm like, buy tickets? What do you mean buy tickets? He goes, I want you to open up the paper. Remember the papers? So he said, I want you to open up the paper. And he goes, I want you to see what's going on in your town. And I want you to buy tickets to whatever's coming up the next 7 weekends. Is there a symphony coming to town? Buy tickets. Is there a ballet? Buy tickets. Is there an art museum? Buy tickets. He said, is there a concert? Buy tickets. And I said, what do you mean? I said, buy tickets. I want you to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 tickets, and I want you to take your friends, and I just want you to go. I want you to buy tickets, and I want you to go. And I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with anything I'm even talking about? He goes, just buy the tickets and come back next month, tell me about the tickets. And I'm like, no. And he literally pulls out his wallet, and I'll never forget it. He sets down 3 $100 bills. And he goes, buy the tickets. Here's the money. And I'm like, what do you even? And I was literally so frustrated. So long story short, I'll try to keep it shorter. But so I bought tickets. I got a symphony ticket. There was like a dance troupe in town or something weird. There's a Dave Matthews concert. And what else? There's one other thing. I can't remember what it was. There's something about the tickets. I went with 1 or 2 or 3 friends and went to them. And the second, I remember the opening act for the Dave Matthews Band started, and I was like, got it. Because sometimes when you're down and out, you got to get out and about. And so I was down and out, and he got me out and about. And then with your friends and you're socializing, and it's in a new environment, and things are happening, and my mind just started turning on again. I started getting all these ideas and these dreams that I don't know where they were. They weren't in my room. They weren't in my bed. These ideas and dreams, they weren't happening in my journal. The ideas and dreams, they weren't happening in my daily planner. It was like I was stuck there, so he moved me over here. Have you ever been like at a ballet or a symphony and orchestra, and you're just sitting there, and all of a sudden you feel amazing? Like the music hits you, this idea comes in, and you walk out and you feel amazing. Have you ever gone to a Broadway show? You went in and you were frustrated and freaked out because all the horrible New York traffic, and all of a sudden you laugh your ass off and you leave the Broadway show and you feel like $1 million. And now no problem is gonna slow you down. That's buy tickets. Buy tickets to the seminar, buy tickets to the event, buy tickets to the art museum, the ballet, buy tickets. And I mean, if you're down and out and your life sucks right now, go buy tickets for the next 4 weeks. And I promise you're gonna be like, damn, buy tickets. That changed my life. Changed my life too. And I've learned ever since then, like if I'm down and out, it's like, buy tickets.
Listen, humans are built to serve. Some people are built to serve the world, others want to serve the 25 people closest to them. But in either case, humans are built to serve. So if you're not happy right now, it's because you're not serving enough. You got to pick up this book because it's so inspiring to remind you that we're all here to contribute, to make a difference, to make an impact, and this is your field guide for that.
If you want another amazing Brendon Burchard video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
What does that rebuilding process look like for somebody who's trapped in depression and suicidal thoughts?
Yeah, I've been there a lot.